Yes, am I audible? Just a second, let me just check. Okay, okay, then we will start with this. That is mind map on nervous system. Okay, so this is mind map of nervous system. So mind map is one such thing where you can revise this whole chapter easily, like quick revision. So for that, let's have a look at the different associated parts of a brain and the spinal cord. So mainly we will be studying about the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, how the signal transmission that occurs, and so everything you will be studying in a short. So this is it is like a last minute revision when you are preparing for your exam. You can refer the mind map and anything that you feel that you might be forgetting, so you can easily remember through this one. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. Just a second. Okay, all right, so yeah. So before I start, let me introduce myself. I am Vani Kari, biology educator at Unacademy. I am an engineer with bachelor's and master's degree in biotechnology and a B.Ed degree. Also a founder of a startup where I grow microgreens by vertical farming technology. So join with us in Telegram for homework and class notes. You can join the channel Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10 biology. Okay, and the Telegram channel of Unacademy ICSE and ISC Boards. So this link you will find in the description box. Okay, so you can click on the link and join the channel then. All right, so now special classes, that is we conduct free classes on Unacademy platform, so you can learn from your favorite educator for free. So engage with educator via poll. So we will be conducting a poll and also we share a leaderboard once that is done, so that you can know your rank and compete with your friends. Clear your doubts in the live special class. So there is a separate question tab where you can clear your doubts. Okay, so that is using the question tab. So you have an option of attaching an image and send it to the educator during a live class. So they'll be clearing your doubts. So for the top special classes, you can find the link in the description and you can watch them. So Unacademy subscription feature. So what is the benefit of this one? So mainly you can learn live from the comfort of your home. Okay, so unlimited access to all the courses. So here we have come up, like all the educators will come up with their different courses, so you will have access to all the courses once you take the subscription. Then top educators of India are going to take the class. So there is a regular doubt clearing session that would be conducted. So that is after about every 3 session. The 4th session is a doubt clearing session. So any doubts you have related to the topics that are previously covered, so you can clear your doubts in this doubt clearing session. Then complete syllabus will be covered, mentorship and guidance is given, study material is given. Okay, so then practice tests, live test series, batch courses. And so depending on your preference, you can either learn in English or maybe in Hindi, English. So depending on your choice, you can go for any of these subjects. Okay, I mean any of the language preference, and you can start attending those batches. So then there is daily practice section, weekly mock test series, live quizzes, daily MCQ and subjective test series as well. So now Unacademy plus subscription pricing. So if you are planning to take the subscription and if you just want to try like how exactly this works, so you can go with the 3 months of subscription. Okay, and the referral code is VANIYT. So with this referral code VANIYT, you will be getting 10% discount on the subscription. Okay, so you can try depending on your convenience. So those of you who have just entered class 10. So you can go with 12 months of subscription. As you can see that as you go for higher months of subscription, the cost is also reducing, and total it will be 15k. Okay, so now with the referral code, that is Vani YT, so it will become 13.5k. so you can go for the subscription with the referral code. Okay, and since it is just the beginning, as we are coming up with different courses, one batch is coming from 13th of April, and just now one batch has started, that is April 6th itself. So any of the batch you are going, so basically you have an option to watch the recording also. So if you are planning to take the subscription, you can go for it. Okay, so this is the referral code. All right, so let's have a look at the mind map. So this mind map is taken from the Oswald publication. Okay, so Oswald publication and Goyal publication. So there is one more, Arundeep, I guess. Arundeep, some questions are wrong, but yes, so Oswald together with Goyal publication. So all these books that you can refer. Okay, so from Oswald itself, many different books are there. So previous year question paper, mind map book is there. So now this mind map I have taken from the Oswald one. Okay, so let's have a look at the mind map of the nervous system. Hi Ravikant, good evening. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so as you can see, so what is this? So this is a mind map. Okay, so this is why we say mind map. It is the quickest way that is possible for you all to revise a particular chapter. Okay, so now when you are revising, so you can't go. So let's say you are at a very tense moment when you are writing your exam. Don't be tensed. Okay, so that is another thing. Okay, but let's say when you are in a tense way, so you want to just want to have a look at what all is present and how you can go about this. So you need to have a mind map. So mind map is very important. So you can see that under nervous system, so mainly you will be looking at the need of nervous system and what exactly is neuron, the definition, the parts of a neuron, the types of a neuron you will be looking at. So yeah, Raj. Okay, hi Raj, good evening. Okay, all right, so we will be looking at all of this. Then transmission of nerve impulse. Okay, so what exactly is transmission of nerve impulse? So what is that moving inside and how the changes, like wave of irritability is set. So we will see this on also in detail, so I'll explain this. I think this is not visible, so that is why I have highlighted all of it here, so you can have a look. So I have just highlighted, so I'm just showing you this so that when I send you this PDF, so I'll send it on my channel. That is you can find this PDF. Okay, so that is on Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10. Okay, so you can find it there, Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10 biology. So there I'll send this PDF, so you can have a look at this one. So for last minute revision, you can have a screenshot, or maybe if you are using I don't think you will have anyway mobile, but your parents would be coming there to drop you, right? So you can have a look at this one. Okay, so it is like a quickest way. And so what all is there? So synapse. So what exactly is synapse? So we will have a look at, and the different nerves. So what are the associated nerves? So there is a sensory, motor, and there is a mixed nerve also. So actions, when we mention, so there is a voluntary action, and then there is involuntary action. So there is also you can find in there. Okay, so we will discuss this. And components. So what are the components? So since we are studying a nervous system here, okay, so in nervous system we will be looking at the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, what exactly is the structure and function of a brain, what exactly is the structure and function of a spinal cord. So all that we will be having a look. Okay, so now what exactly is reflex action, who is controlling the reflex action. So its definition, then difference between the reflex action and a voluntary action. So then natural reflex is there, and then there is a conditioned one. So what are these conditioned reflexes or a natural natural reflex we will have a look. Okay, and other than that, you can find this one. So this is a natural and condition and a reflex arc. So that is a pathway of a reflex action. So let's have a look at this one, each and every one in detail. Okay, let's get started. Yes. Okay, so now now this is from the nervous system itself. Let's have a look at the neuron. So what exactly is neuron? Okay, so definition. So what is the definition of neuron? Yes, anybody has any idea about this one? So what is the definition of neuron? So it is the structural and functional unit of a nervous system. Okay, so this one is a structural and functional unit of a nervous system. That means the brain and then the spinal cord. So these are made up of, or the nerves also are completely having a neuron itself. Okay, so there is a structural and functional unit when we mention. So these are structurally the brain and the spinal cord is made of neuron. Functionally it is carrying the information from your brain. The information is going to your leg, or maybe to your stomach, maybe to our intestine to produce an intestinal juice, or maybe to produce a stomach juice. You know that, right? So now whenever a nerve is sending an impulse, brain is sending an impulse through the motor neuron. Okay, so what happens in motor neuron? So it is it is carrying the impulse either the to the effector. Okay, so effector here is basically, it can be muscle. Okay, so muscle or a gland. So it is carrying the information either to the muscle or to the gland. Okay, so now these glands can be endocrine glands also. All right, so these glands can be exocrine glands as well. So completely depending on what type of action is occurring, so based on that certain changes can be seen. So now what exactly are the parts? You can see the structure here. Okay, so now as you can see, so this part is the cell body. Okay, so you can see these short processes, right? So dendrites are there. So these edges what you see here, so those are dendrons. So I'll just highlight that. Okay, so this part what you see, so these are dendrons. Okay, so these are now dendrons, and the other part, the extension of this one or a short process what you see, so that is a dendrite. Okay, so this one is a dendrite. So then in the center you find a nucleus. There are nasal granules also. So you can find a nasal granule. Then there is a axon, and then you can find a nerve ending. So what is there at the nerve ending? So this is a bulb-like structure. Okay, so in this nerve bulb or a bulb-like structure, you can find acetylcholine. Okay, so there you can find acetylcholine. So this acetylcholine is basically a neurotransmitter. So whenever impulse is being transmitted, okay, so that is impulses, impulse, a wave of irritability has to be set. Okay, so neurotransmitters are those chemicals released from the axon which will be setting a wave of irritability in the next one. So now you can see here, so this is related to the synapse. Okay, so whenever two of the neurons are there in contact, so let's say this is a cell body and this is the axon ending now. Okay, so the synaptic cleft is there, so that means a gap is present. So they are not in touch, so they are not contact, so they are not in contact. There is a gap, so that we call as a synaptic cleft. Okay, so that gap is synaptic cleft, and the information which is being carried. Okay, so a wave of irritability is set in the axon, and once the neurotransmitter is released, so from here, that is from this particular bulb. Okay, so as the neurotransmitter is released, the next dendrite, so now this is the another neuron, so let's say this is another neuron. So dendrite, so let's imagine this as a dendrite. So dendrites are going to receive that particular neurotransmitter. Okay, so neurotransmitter is received, and once that is done, a wave of irritability is set in the next neuron as well. So that we call as a synapse. So now who is receiving a signal? So as you can see in this one, yes, are you all understanding? So as you can see in this one, that is basically a receptor is present. So this one is a sensory neuron. So you can see a dendrites from a receptor. Okay, so these are the dendrites, and then you can see a direction. So this is a direction of conduction. Okay, then you can find axons, so node of Ranvier, everything is there. So this is the axon ending. So this one is a bilateral neuron. Okay, so this is a sensory neuron. Now in the brain, so this association neuron which is labeled here, so this association neuron you can find in brain. Okay, or this can be found in spinal cord as well. Okay, so brain or a spinal cord, you can find this one. And there is, as the association neuron is there, just a second. Okay, so this is present in them, and it will be carrying the information from sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So motor neuron will now carry the information to the effector. Okay, so now wave of irritability is set, so that is the transmission of nerve impulse. So as as the neurotransmitter are released here, so next neuron in combination is going to receive a signal or impulse from one neuron. So there are certain changes that can occur. So now this is a resting position. Okay, where you can see, so there is a membrane, so you can see all the plus. So sodium is on the outside, so that is why outside we can see everything here is plus. Okay, and inner cellular content is giving you a negative charge there, so that is minus now. Okay, so it can be with respect to any of the minerals that are present, or maybe the charge of the molecules that might be present, so DNA or anything. Okay, in general, so that is providing a minus charge. Now as the impulse is set, so this will get disturbed. So there is a wave of irritability that is set in. So sodium which is there on the outside, so that will start moving inside. So sodium will start moving inside, and inside it will become plus. Okay, and outside it will be negative later on. Okay, so as this one has moved inside, so as the sodium has moved inside, so outside it will be negative. And so that condition, so now this was a resting condition, a polarized condition. So next one, as the sodium moves in, so that we call as a excited region, or it is also called as a depolarization. So next what will happen, the impulse is being transferred the same way, and then this one is as usual, this is the resting phase. So next comes the recovery. So recovery region or repolarization. So as the wave of irritability is set in. Okay, so you can see this one. I'll just show you this. I'll just erase this part so that you can understand. Okay, so now as you can see this part, so there is movement. So these charges are getting attracted. So what exactly happens? So here these are getting attracted, that is plus and minus. So plus will shift here and minus will move here. Okay, so that is how a wave of irritability is being set. So once the plus comes inside, that is sodium comes inside. Okay, so sodium has come inside, so that is why here and all it is plus. Okay, so now as the impulse is being carried, so there is basically attraction that occurs between a plus and a minus, and that we call as the excited region here. So this is as usual excited region or a depolarized region. So at the back there is a recovery or repolarization occurring, we can see, and then there is a resting region. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Any doubt till here? Any of you, any doubt? All right. So next is basically the actions and the nerves or synapse. So synapse we already saw. Okay, so I'll just tell you the definition now. So now it is a point of contact between the terminal branches of axon. Okay, so now let's say this is the terminal branch. So now let's say this is one whole thing, it is the axon now. So terminal branches of axon is here. So this is a terminal branch of a axon, and let's say this is a dendrite. Okay, I mean a next neuron. So in that case what will happen, so there is no complete contact. Okay, so there is no complete contact, so there is a gap. Okay, so that gap we call as the synaptic cleft. Okay, so the gap which is there, so that can be called as a synaptic cleft. Okay, and there is a signal transmission that occurs, right? So that signal transmission we call as a synapse. So it is the point of contact between the terminal branches of axon of a neuron with the dendrites of other neuron. So other dendrites, I mean other neuron is there, so the dendrite is getting in contact, and so there is a fine gap, so that fine gap itself we call as a synaptic cleft. Okay, so now this is about the synapse. So moving on to the next one, so the different types, we will have a look at the different types. So that is under nerves. Okay, so now what exactly is the nerve? So definition we will have a look at. So this is a definition which is again important. Okay, so many of the times that they have asked what is the nerve, so define nerve, they'll ask him. It is not a group of a neuron. So nerve, when we mention, it is not a group of neuron. So nerve is a bundle of fibers in the body. So what is that fiber? So fiber is nothing but a nerve fiber, so that is the axon. Okay, so now let's say here there is a fiber. Okay, so this is a nerve fiber if we are imagining. Okay, so there is a muscular sheet. Okay, so there is a tubular sheet. Okay, so instead we can say that this is a tubular sheet. Okay, so inside this tubular sheet we can find many neurons, so there are many axons. Okay, so now when we mention about a nerve, so there are many axons which are there. Okay, so these many axons are arranged in here. So because of this axon arrangement, so this will provide a look, so that is a look of like many of the nerves are arranged, or I mean, not the nerves, the nerve fibers. Okay, so axon or a nerve fiber. So I'll just write it. So axon we can say, or a nerve fiber. So many of the nerve fibers are arranged. It will give us a bundled look. Okay, so now this is a bundled look. That means a nerve is a bundle of fiber, that is axon itself in the body. So what about a ganglion then? So now here we said, okay, so now a bundle of axon is present. So this is a bundle of axon over here, so that we call as a nerve. So what about a ganglion? So now a group of these are there, so that is cell body. So group of cell body which is there. So now this group of cell body which is there, so that we can call as a ganglion. So we can find a ganglion. So ganglia is a plural term and ganglion is a singular term. So if we find many of such things, okay, so group of ganglion if you find, or group of many ganglions when you find, so in general we can say that it is a ganglia. Okay, so this is a ganglia is a plural term for this one. So this is a singular word. Okay, so it is a group of cell body or group of a cyton, and group of axon when it is present, so that we call as a nerve. Okay, so group of axon is nerve, group of cyton is ganglion. Is this clear? Any doubt? Hi Madhuri, good evening. Is this clear? Any doubt you have? Any of you? So now this is axon. So we saw what exactly is nerve. So we will discuss about the different types of nerves that are there. So there is a sensory nerve, then you can find a motor nerve and a mixed nerve. So what is nerve now? It is just a bundle of a axon. Okay, so but the impulse, or there is a chance that mixing up of a impulse can occur. So in order to prevent that, insulating material, a myelin sheath is present. Okay, so now when we mention about a sensory nerve, so this will bring the impulse from receptor to the brain or a spinal cord. So let's say here, okay, so now here the brain is present. Okay, so this is a brain, and you can see this is a brain. Okay, so now we will just discuss about the brain itself now, or maybe we can show the spinal cord also. So let's say this is a spinal cord now. Okay, so in this case, whenever a nerve is reaching, so there is a nerve. So let's say it can be because of eye. So maybe we can say eye is there. Okay, so eye is able to see a object. So there is a object. Okay, so this eye is able to see a object, that is a light rays are passing. Now optic nerve is connected. Optic nerve is connected to the brain. So that we can call as a sensory nerve. Why it is a sensory nerve? Because it is carrying the information from the receptor to the central nervous system. Okay, so central nervous system is brain or a spinal cord, so that is the sensory nerve. So now bring the impulse from receptor to the brain or a spinal cord. So now what exactly is motor nerve? So carry the impulse from brain or spinal cord to the effector organ. So now what will happen? So there is one more nerve that is arising. Okay, so now let's say there is something that falls, so some object that is falling into the eye. Okay, so let's say some object has fallen. So now the muscle, so effector is basically a muscle. Okay, or it can be gland also. So since we are discussing about eye now, so eye muscles. Okay, so muscles of the eye, what are they? So message is sent, so we will just show it here itself. So that is for the muscles of the eye. Okay, so now muscles of the eye are going to receive a signal from brain or maybe from spinal cord. So depending on the action, so it can from spinal cord also to the eye, so that when something falls, so it is basically a reflex action itself. So in that case what will happen? So basically you can blink your eye. Okay, so you are moving your eyelids so that whatever has fallen, so that can be washed off. Okay, and who is getting a signal? So for movement, so whenever we are moving eye, so if an eye movement has to occur, so it is the muscles. Okay, so muscles have to contract and relax, and here in the eye the muscle will contract and relax, and with that we can wash away the dust particle that is present. So now what is this? From the brain or spinal cord, whatever nerve is arising and it is going to the eye, so that we call as a motor nerve. Okay, so next one more nerve is there. So there is a mixed nerve. So what exactly is mixed nerve? So it will contain both sensory and a motor nerve. So let's say here this is a tubular sheet. Okay, so this one is a tubular sheet now. Okay, which is having many of the axon. So there is one set. Okay, so one set is completely sensory neuron. So there is another set. Okay, so that another set is basically a mixed one. Okay, so that is a motor one. So what we can see here? So we can see the sensory nerve also. Okay, so there is a sensory nerve also, and then there is motor nerve also. Okay, so we can find a sensory nerve and a motor nerve. So that means it is a mixed nerve. Okay, so you can find a mixed nerve. So these are the three types that you will find. Mixed nerve, where you can find let's say a spinal cord is here at the vertebral column. Okay, so now action has to be done. So there is a sensory nerve which is coming from the hand. Okay, so it is coming from the hand, so it is going where? It is going to your spinal cord. So that is a sensory nerve. Now what will happen? So from the spinal cord a nerve is arising for the muscle. So muscles of your hand will get that is through the motor nerve. Muscles are receiving a signal there, therefore this for the hand movement. Okay, so in that case what is happening? So here in your hand you can find a mixed nerve. So that means a sensory nerve is also present, and the motor nerve is also present. Any doubt? Is this clear? Okay, so now this is about the nerves. And now voluntary and involuntary actions when we mention. So this is performed consciously. Voluntary, you are thinking and you are doing. So you want to switch on a TV, you want to switch on a fan, you want to switch on a radio, anything. Okay, so in all these cases what you are doing? So you are basically sitting on the couch. So let's say you are watching a TV. Okay, so you want to change the channels now. Okay, so what you are doing? You will think of what channel you want. Okay, so then you press the remote buttons so that you can change. So this is a voluntary action. But involuntary action, when we mention, so a breathing is there, a heartbeat is there, which you cannot control. So now let's say I'm here, okay, so I'll say like a breathing rate to stop, or maybe heartbeat to stop. So that is not under my control. Even if I'm asking it to stop, this is not happening, because these are not under our control. So these are under the control of your brain. Mainly the medulla oblongata is the one that controls the internal organ activities. So medulla oblongata is having a cardiac center, so it is having the respiratory center. So based on that, the action will be controlled. Okay, so this is about the center. So that is the different nerves, or maybe the actions, the voluntary action and involuntary action. So let's have a look at this one. So before I go to the nervous system types, so let me just say this, that is the reflex action and voluntary, because we just saw what exactly is this one. Okay, so now when we mention about reflexes or involuntary actions, just a second. Okay, so now we saw what exactly is reflex or an involuntary action or a voluntary action. Okay, so now involuntary actions are basically initiated by stimulus. So there has to be stimulus. Okay, so without stimulus there is no action. Now breathing rate is occurring. So what exactly is the stimulus there? So there is a movement. So there is, as you take in a gas, okay, so as you take in a air, so what will happen? So there are certain changes that are occurring. So that is the stimulus. So because of that, the blood keeps moving. So now for breathing mechanism also, muscles are getting contracted, muscles are getting relaxed. Okay, so that is inhalation and exhalation. So there is a stimulus. Okay, so there has to be stimulus. So it can be touch, pain, pressure, heat, light. So anything can be there. So after that only action will be seen. Okay, so now mainly self-protective due to environment. Commands originate mostly in the spinal cord. So that is because it is a reflex action. So in case of reflex action, it is the spinal cord who is taking the decision. Okay, so spinal cord is the one that takes the decision whenever there is a requirement. So whenever there is a requirement of the action to be performed. Okay, so that is mainly with respect to involuntary action. So spinal cord can take the control. Now voluntary action, so involves muscles and glands. So same way, the involving a muscle and the gland is there. Okay, because these are the effectors. Okay, so this we can say, so these are effectors. Okay, and then there is voluntary action. So what exactly is voluntary action? So this is initiated by a willing thought. So there has to be a thought. Okay, so now the same example which I took. Okay, so you want to watch a TV. Okay, so you take a remote. Okay, so then what are you going to do? So you go on changing the channel. So that is a voluntary action. So now I want to move my hands, or maybe I want to go eat. So it's not happening without my knowledge. So I'm thinking about a food and then I'm eating it, right? So same way, so whenever we are performing with our will, so those are all voluntary action. So this is fulfillment of a desired goal. Commands originate in the brain and involve only the muscles. Okay, so muscle involvement is there. So that is because you cannot say. Okay, so now let's say there is a salivary gland. Okay, so this is the sweat gland, or maybe a salivary gland is present. So in all these cases, you cannot say the sweat gland to produce a sweat. So even if you are saying, nothing is gonna happen. Okay, so same with respect to endocrine. So you can't just sit here and say like pituitary gland, please produce some TSH, ACTH, whatever you try to say. So this will not happen. So this is all under the control of the brain on the spinal cord, that is central nervous system. So in that case, this is just involving a muscle, but not the glands. Okay, so now this is with respect to voluntary or involuntary action. Okay, so now let's have a look at this one. All right, So what exactly is this part? All right. So this is a spinal cord now. Okay. So you can see this region is the cortex region. Okay. So cortex region is made up of what? Cortex region is having a white matter. Okay. So white matter is made up of what? White matter is made up of axon. All right. Now you can see here this one, this butterfly shaped structure. So this one is a butterfly shaped structure. What you see is a gray matter. Okay. So this is now a gray matter. All right. And what exactly is gray matter made up of? So whenever it is a gray matter, so that is in the medulla region. So this is where, so this is in the medulla region. So what do you find? So it is a gray matter. That means it is made up of a cyton. Okay. So it will be having a cell body or a cyton. So this would be the case. So now you can see white matter is labeled there. Okay. So then you can also see a gray matter is labeled there. So then you can see association neuron. So here a receptor is present. So this one now, this part, so this is the receptor. Okay. So from receptor what is happening? So there is a signal. The dendrites are going to receive that signal. Okay. So now the signal or impulse, a stimulus is received. Then this part is basically the motor sensory neuron. Okay. So now from receptor, the impulse is taken through the sensory neuron to the spinal cord. Okay. So now here in the spinal cord, what do you find? So there is a association neuron that you find. So now this structure, what you find? So this is a association neuron where it will connect the sensory neuron with the motor neuron. So next in association, you can find there is a motor neuron. So this is now a motor neuron. Okay. So this motor neuron will send a message where it is sending the message to the effector. Okay. So in that case, what is happening? So there is actually the signal is being conveyed from sensory neuron to the association neuron. Then from association neuron, it is going to the motor neuron for the response. So there is always a response is required. So for response to be seen, the motor neuron has to work. So now you can see this one is the dorsal root. So dorsal ganglion you can find. So this is a ventral root. So dorsal is backside. Okay. So now from your and it is going to the spinal cord, that is towards the back. Then it is coming towards the front for the action. So that is a ventral root. Okay. So then this is a spinal nerve, effector muscle we saw. So dorsal root and a dorsal root ganglion also you can find. So this structure, I'll just highlight that, just a second. Okay, so this structure what you see here, so this is a ganglion. Okay, so this one is the dorsal root ganglion. What exactly is this one? That means it is made up of many cell bodies. So many cell cytons will be there. So that is a ganglion. Okay, and it is a dorsal root ganglion. So let's have a look at the nervous system now. Okay, 1 second. All right. Okay, so now nervous system, we can find different types of nervous system. Okay, so that is the central nervous system is there, again peripheral nervous system when we mention. So this is divided into two more parts. So that is somatic nervous system. Okay, and then autonomic nervous system. Again in autonomic nervous system you can see a division. So there is a sympathetic nervous system and then parasympathetic nervous system. So somatic nervous system is somewhere it is related to all the body parts, and so that is mainly which are coming. So these are nothing but the same ones. Okay, but these set of nerves, what are them? So these are arising from the brain. This set of nerve is arising from the spinal cord. Okay, so it is very important. So lot of times these questions are asked. So cranial nerve, remember that there are 12 pairs of cranial nerve that you find. Okay, And now when we are mentioning about the spinal nerve, so there are 31 pairs. Okay, so one is going to this hand, one is going to the other hand. So same way with respect to leg, and different organs what are there in your abdominal cavity, upper abdominal, lower abdominal, the chest cavity. So everywhere a nerve is being spent. Okay, so that is center. Okay, so cervical region is here, thoracic region, lumbar region is there, sacral region, coccyx region. So from everywhere the nerves are arising. So from spinal cord when we mention, so total of 31 pairs we can find. From head region we can find 12 pairs. Okay, so sympathetic nervous system is stimulatory, which will make you ready for the action. Okay, so it can be either fight or a flight. Okay, so that can happen. So accelerates the heartbeat, dilates the pupil. So that is it is happening with the adrenaline, also with the acetylcholine. So I'll just write that. Okay, so sympathetic when we mention, so there can be epinephrine. Okay, so epinephrine might be required, that is nothing but adrenaline is required, and there is the acetylcholine is required. Okay, so now what exactly happens whenever this is released. It is making you ready. Okay, so it is making your body ready for the action. So what action? So let's say you see a tiger. Okay, so this tiger, you need to escape from a tiger, or basically you are going to fight the tiger. So in all those cases you require a large amount of ATP, and ATP supply is done to your body whenever these hormones are being worked along with the nervous system. Okay, so that is stimulatory, accelerate the heartbeat, then dilate the pupil, constrict the blood vessel, release the sugar from the liver. So this is possible. Then parasympathetic. Okay, so nerves above the neck and below the sacrum. All right, so you can find the nerves that are there above the neck and below the sacrum. So those are basically parasympathetic in action. So these are restoring the normal body condition, so getting your body back to the normal condition after the stimulatory action. So stimulation is done by sympathetic, bringing back it to the normal condition, so that is done by the parasympathetic. Okay, so now brain and spinal cord also you have seen. So there is cerebrum, which is controlling the conscious and the unconscious mind, intelligence, memory, reason. So many functions are there. Cerebellum is maintaining the body balance. Medulla oblongata controls the involuntary activity like heartbeat, breathing, peristalsis. Okay, so all these come under the central nervous system. So there is central and peripheral. So you need to remember what exactly comes under what. Okay, so now as you can see, this is with respect to the last part itself, that is a natural reflex and a conditioned reflex. Okay, so now reflexes when we study. Okay, so you can see the dog here, right? What exactly is dog is doing? So naturally we have a lot of reflexes, like blinking is there. So this is all when somebody asks you a route, so naturally if you are used to that route, so you'll show them the route. Okay, so that is again a natural one. So without thinking, like suddenly all these are occurring. Now conditioned when we mention. Okay, so what exactly is conditioned now? So let's say a dog is here. Okay, so dog is able to see a food. Okay, so dog is seeing what? Dog is seeing food, and it understood that it is a food which can be eaten. So dog started salivating. So next time what has happened here? So this is a Pavlov's experiment which is mentioned in your book. Okay, so this is a Pavlov's experiment for a conditioned reflex. Okay, so this is a conditioned reflex. So now as soon as the dog sees the food, it will start salivating. Okay, so there is a saliva formation. Now next we will take one more scenario. Okay, so dog is not aware of any food or anything. So dog is just sitting like that, and there is a ringing of a bell. Okay, so this is the scenario B. Okay, so in that case what is happening? The ringing of bell occurs. The dog is not having an idea, so it is not knowing anything. It is not salivating. Who will salivate for a belling? I mean, whenever a ring bells, okay, or makes a sound, so who will salivate for that? Because it is not a food. Okay, so same way this dog is not salivating when a bell rings. Okay, now the third scenario or a third case is bell is ringing. Okay, at the same time the food is also given. Hi 7K star, good evening. Yeah, so now at the same time what is happening, the bell is ringing and food is also given. So it will salivate, and it has understood that whenever a bell is ringing, so it might get a food. Okay, so based on that, so it knows the food, so it has anyway salivated, and after that, it is at the same moment it has come across a bell also. Now the fourth scenario, that is scenario D, is, let's say a ringing of bell is occurring. Okay, so just the ringing of a bell is occurring, but the food is not there. Okay, so food is not given, but still the dog is salivating, thinking that the food might be there or food might come. Okay, so here you can see the difference between these two stages, that is B and D. That okay, so in B what was happening, so bell ringing was anyway there, but dog did not realize that it would get a food. But once it got to know that whenever a bell rings, okay, so it understood that the food is also coming with that. Okay, so that is when the next time just the bell ring is there, but there is no food, but still the dog is salivating, thinking that the food might come. Okay, so in that case, just when we think of a certain food, so we will start salivating, right? So same way, salivation can be seen, so whenever one thinks of a food. So now here salivation we can see, because the dog has experience. Okay, so it has experienced a particular state, it got to know that the food is given. Okay, so when a food is given, so basically what happens, one second. Yeah, so when a food is given, so what actually happens, so it will understand that whenever bell rings, the food will be given, and based on that, there can be salivation. Okay, so this is a Pavlov's experiment, which is mainly for a conditioned reflex. So this is based on okay. Ma'am, please explain the reflex action. Yes, I'll explain. Yes, this one is a conditioned reflex. Okay, so conditioned reflex is there, and Ankur Verma is asking reflex action. Okay, so I'll explain reflex action. So now spinal cord is there. Okay, so let's say this is a spinal cord now. Okay, so now let's say there is a you are asking, I mean, who is that? Ankur, so you are asking about a conditioned reflex, or just like in normal reflex action, which I explained here. Where is that? Here I was explaining. So you want me to explain this part? So why is peristalsis a reflex action? Yes, I'll explain that. Okay, so I'll explain this also, peristalsis also. Okay, so now in this case, when we mention, okay, there are certain changes that happen. So now as soon as food enters, okay, so why exactly, I'll first explain you why peristalsis is a reflex action, so that you will naturally understand. Okay, so this is about the peristalsis. Okay, so now this is not under your control. So first and foremost thing, it is a involuntary action. Okay, so you take a food. Okay, so you are taking a food. So once you take a food, you are not pushing it down. So just think, one thing that you do is swallowing. So that is a voluntary action. So if you do not want to swallow, you can keep it in your mouth also. So that is the voluntary action. So now you are swallowing. So that is the action that you are doing. Okay, so once that is done, now it is not under your control. So whatever is happening now, the food is entering your food pipe, so it is not under your control. So now as it enters the food pipe, so there is a wave of irritability. So this one is the alimentary canal now. So these muscles will start moving. Okay, so those muscle cells will start contracting, and that will start relaxing. So there is a pushing action that will be done. So let's say your food is here. Okay, so there is you can see this type of a movement with respect to your muscle. So that we call as a peristalsis. Okay, so that itself is a peristalsis. So in that case, what is happening? The food is being pushed. So it's not that we are pushing it. So this is happening without our control. So this is not under our control. So once only till it enters here, so that is under control. So who is doing that? Spinal cord. It is actually, once it understand, here let's say this point over here, food is the stimulus now. Okay, so as you keep a food, as you swallow a food, so the stimulus is received by the receptor. So receptor in the peristaltic, I mean in the alimentary canal. So receptors are there. So those have understood that there is a food. Okay, so now signal is sent through the sensory neuron. So I'll explain this now. Okay, so let's say this is the alimentary canal now. Okay, so alimentary canal where the food is swallowed, that means a food is recognized, and there are receptors over here. So those receptors will send a signal to your spinal cord. Okay, so that is through the sensory neuron. Now in the spinal cord you can find the association neuron, which will transfer the impulse from sensory neuron to the motor neuron. Okay, so now what will happen? So as it is connected, now the motor neuron from the spinal cord, so this is going where? It is going to the muscles of, so muscles of what? Muscles of your alimentary canal for the contraction and a relaxation, so that there is a continuous contraction and relaxation that occurs and food is being pushed downward. So that can be seen only because the signal is sent. Okay, so that is by the food as the stimulus. So food is stimulus here. Okay, and that is detected by the dendrites which are there. So once that is detected, so it will be sent through the sensory neuron to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord you can find association neuron, which will connect the information from sensory neuron to the motor neuron. Now the motor neuron will send a impulse to the muscles of your alimentary canal, so that this one is the alimentary canal, so that the muscles will contract and relax. So based on that, so there is a food movement. Is this clear? Okay, so yes, so what about Ankur? Ankur, is this clear? Explain Pavlov's law. Okay, I'll explain that. Okay, yeah. All right, so we will see this one. So this is now a condition. 1 second. All right. So this is scenario A. Okay. So in scenario A, what has happened? The food is given. Okay. So naturally the dog will salivate. So let's say in our case only, if we are given our favorite food, so now we will think of that food and we will start watering of a mouth, we say, right? So mouth will start watering. So that is the condition here. So now when we think of a food or a food is visible, so one would salivate. So that is occurring naturally. Now next time in the next scenario, so this is a different case. Let's say this is day 1 now. Okay, so this is day 1. So this one is day 2. Okay, so dog is there in the school, let's say in school itself. Okay, so now the bell ring is there. Okay, so when the bell rings, so dog doesn't know that for the very first time, the dog doesn't know that the food is being offered at the same time. Okay, so just the bell ringing is there, and the dog do not salivate. So this is not salivating. And at the same time, so let's say this is a day 2 itself. Okay, so now the bell is continuously ringing, at the same time it is getting a food also. Okay, so it is getting the food at the same time. Now it has understood that whenever a bell rings, I'll get a food. Okay, so once it understood that by the food it will anyway start salivating, because of the food only it is salivating. But as the salivation is seen because of the ring and the food, so next time, that is, let's say day 3. Now this is a day 3. Okay, so in that case food is not yet given, but just the bell is ringing. The dog will start imagining. Okay, so dog will start imagining, because the bell is ringing, I will get a food now. So since it is imagining a food, so naturally it will start salivating. So earlier it was not salivating, but day 3 it is salivating, because condition, that is, it has got a experience that the whenever a bell rings I'll get a food. So based on that the salivation will be there. So this is about the Pavlov's experiment. Okay, so is this clear? I am single. What all names you keep. All right, so now reflex arc when we mention, so it is the pathway which is followed. Okay, so what exactly is the pathway? I'll just write it here. So receptor is there. Okay, so from receptor, so there is a sensory neuron. Okay, so from sensory neuron the impulse is taken to the central nervous system, which is brain or a spinal cord. Then in central nervous system you can find the association neuron. Okay, then from central nervous system there is a motor neuron which is taking a impulse to the effector. So effector can be muscle or a gland. So this one is a reflex arc or a reflex pathway. So whatever pathway is being followed, that is by the reflex, so I mean any action to be done, so that we call as the reflex arc. So it is a pathway, so it is the shortest route that can be taken by an receptor. Okay, so that is to from receptor, so this is from a receptor. Okay, so by an receptor to an effector. So effector here can be muscle. Okay, or this can be gland also. Okay, so these are the conditions. I hope it is clear, everyone. Alright, so now win 100% scholarship, that is while preparing for your exam day. So 9th to 12th April, so that is for 5 p.m. onwards, you can attend the emerge, which is a mock test for your ICSE class 10. Okay, so for ICSE class 10 mock test you can attend on Unacademy Learners app. All you need to do is download the Unacademy Learner app. Okay, so once you do that, once you attend, so basically every week, so I think it started in March itself. Okay, so till the end of April you are having this mock test. You can take up this test. So it is like a it is like a practice, because same board pattern whatever you had, whatever you are getting for your term 2, so same pattern will be followed. So you can take up this test. So exception is that you can note biology test is at 2 p.m. rest of them are at 5 p.m. itself. Okay, so now we are starting a new batch, the gladiators batch. So this is already started just 2 days back. So in that case, you can watch the recording also. So those who are entering class 10 now. Okay, so it is for them. So we will be covering the midterm portion. Okay, so that is by the end of July. So you all can take up these sessions. You all can take up the one second. So you all can take up the subscription and start attending the classes from today itself, because we will be covering the midterm portion, and you will be way ahead with your portion. Okay, and more practice will be done, because we will be discussing the diagram based question, name the following, so different questions type what you have. So we will be discussing all that, and we can also practice through the polls. So if you are planning to take the subscription, so you can subscribe for ICSE class 10, and you will be getting class 11 and 12 subscription absolutely free. Okay, so now champions batch, it is an ongoing batch for term 2 learners who are about to write their exam in April end. Okay, so this is for them. So anyway, you can take the subscription of 1 month also here. Okay, so but it is anyway at the end. So mainly we are solving different types of questions in this batch. And there is one more batch that is coming, so that is Titans batch. The start date is 13th April. So this is for those who are just entering class 10, so term 1 students. So it is for them. So you can take up the subscription now and start attending this session. So if you are planning to take the subscription, you can use my code VANIYT to get 10% discount on the subscription. Okay, so if you are getting a subscription for class 10, you will be getting class 11 and 12 subscription absolutely free. Yes, okay, yes, so you can take up these batches. So those who are in class, just entering class 10. Okay, So then we are also introducing community. So never miss any update. So basically you can get updated from your favorite educator. So get session notes and practice material. Share your feedback directly with the educator via poll. So that also is available. So check out the link to the educator community below. Okay. So bugs bounty, opportunity for all learners to report any inappropriate content in the video. So be the first one to report a particular issue to claim your prize, and report any inappropriate content using the form in the description. So how you can watch my special classes? All you need to do is download the Unacademy Learner app. Okay. Then open the app and click on get started. Enter your mobile number and OTP and sign up using your email ID. Then select class 6 to 12. Select your class, that is ICSE category you can select. Then select your preferred language, whether you prefer to learn in English, Hindi or English. So you can go for any of this. Then once you do that, you can go to the description of this video and click on the special class link. You can also click on notify me to get notified 10 minutes before about the classes. You can use my code Vani YT. Okay, so this is my code to get 10% discount on the subscription, and also you can unlock many of the free products that are there on Unacademy. So you can unlock them and start taking up the test. Okay, so thank you everyone. So click on bell icon to get notified about the classes. Subscribe to our channel, that is Unacademy ICSE and ISC Boards. Like and share the video. Download the Unacademy Learner app. The PDF anyway I'll send it on my Telegram group. So that is Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10. So you can join my Telegram group. Okay, so this is the group name, Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10. Okay, so you can join this group and there I'll be sending all my PDF there. Okay, all right. Thank you everyone. All right, okay, thank you everyone, bye bye, thank you so much. So see you all in the next session. So next session I haven't assigned yet, so let's see if I can cover maybe some previous year questions. I'll keep them. Okay, so I haven't assigned it, so we will decide on that. Okay, so see you all in the next session. Bye bye everyone, thank you so much.